Hi everyone, welcome to the Immigration.ca live stream series. If this is your first time joining, my name is Andrea and I'm here with immigration attorney Colin Singer. Colin is managing partner of Immigration.ca in Canada. Today we're joining you from Westmount Park here in Montreal. It's a beautiful fall day, so you can see the beautiful fall leaves behind us. The topic of discussion is going to be the most discussed topic in the news today, and that's the results of the American election. So we received a lot of interest in immigration to Canada as a result. So we'll be discussing your options in coming to Canada as an American or as another nationality. Well, Colin, should we get started?
Let's do it.
Okay, perfect.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. The topic of today's discussion, you can find our writing on our LinkedIn profile as well as our news articles for November. The topic is Dear America, Keep Calm. There's plenty of room in Canada. The backdrop to this is for individuals in America as well as foreign nationals worldwide. We're going to give some perspective on what your options are if you're interested in relocating to Canada. Of course, there's a tendency for many Americans, as we're seeing on our site, a lot of people are inquiring about options on immigrating to Canada. So, of course, we don't want people to take part in a knee-jerk reaction, and we want to give people some perspective on what your options are. Of course, the backdrop to this is Canada's immigration policies, and particularly their immigration numbers that were recently tabled.
For 2017.
For 2017, the
target would be 300,000 new immigrants.
Right. In 2016, we admitted globally for permanent residents, we admitted in the range of 320,000 people. Right. The target numbers were 300. And the Canadian government is going to replicate that again for next year. So there's a push for what we would say is record numbers of immigrants. The numbers coming into Canada represents approximately 0.85% of our population. We're 36 million people, right, and we're bringing in a very healthy number of around 300,000 people. Right. How does that fit into perhaps what your options are in Canada? The biggest category of people coming to Canada is the economic class. We have targeted 172,000 for next year, and within that category, the biggest component of economic class immigrants is the federal skilled worker program, the business immigration program, the provincial immigration programs, and the Quebec immigration program. So all of these subcomponents form part of the bigger class of economic immigration. The government is planning to increase its numbers in terms of the number of economic class immigrants that they're looking to bring in. And Canada has a number of programs. We have what we call shared jurisdiction. So in Canada, we've got our 10 provinces, our territories, and the federal government, all having a role to play in immigration. So you have the central federal government giving its different programs. The largest number of people will come in under the federal program. And that is going to be a healthy number for 2017.
Yes.
We have primarily within the economic, we have this system called the express entry system.
Right, so people are ranked on their comprehensive ranking score, so a combination of the age, education, work experience, and other factors. So with Canada will be accepting more economic class immigrants, the CRS score definitely will be dropping, most likely.
Well, that's it. The economic express entry system is one in which we have a point system, and each periodic 2 times a month there's a draw, and there's a score you need to have to get into the system, get out of the system. So traditionally we have seen a score which is quite high. in quite simply, the ideal candidate who would get into the system and who would then get an invitation to apply for permanent residence is a candidate with a score of over 450.
Right.
That kind of candidate is typically an individual who's around age 30, has a master's degree, quite high levels of education, and English or French, and work experience. So unless you had those very high credentials, it's very hard to get out of the pool, and the way you would do so is if you have an offer of employment. An employer is your gold standard. We've mentioned this before. What we're seeing for next year is that individuals can expect the scores that are being issued every 2 weeks to fall quite significantly. And why is that? And by inference, it should be much easier to come to Canada
in 2017.
And the reason for this is because the government is going to have to make up a lot of numbers coming from the express entry pool. In previous years, you had a mix of individuals coming from an older system and the new system. Mm-hmm. So you had a 50-50, people coming under the new express entry system, and then 50% coming from the pre-express entry system, which came in January 2015. What you're going to have next year is a smaller number coming from the older system, quite a small number, perhaps 25%, and 75% coming from the express entry. And what that means is the government is going to have to significantly lower their scores in order to get what we see as about 72,500 people, right, including an applicant and dependents, in order to get those kinds of numbers. So the bigger picture is that it will probably get easier next year if you want to come to Canada under permanent residence. Now, if you're an American or if you're a foreign national living in the U.S. or anywhere globally for that matter, yes, how can you come to Canada? What are the basic categories that you could look to in making a move to Canada?
Okay, so first of all, if you'd like to come to Canada as a visitor, obviously there's options to come as a visitor. If a visitor's visa is needed, you could always apply for that.
Right.
However, if you want to come here to live and to work, you'll need to fit into the categories, basically. So you'd need to look into your options. So there's, as we discussed, there's the express entry system, there's also the family class, there's finding a job and getting a work permit. But I guess we'll break it down and we could just discuss first, for example, if you're a member of the technology sector.
Right. Well, the first broad category is if you're a person in the technology field. We've got a new program coming into play next year, a fast-track visa, a process that the government will outline very shortly. And they're looking for, if you're an employer, bringing in foreign workers in the IT field, or if you're going to be a permanent applicant, there's going to be mechanisms for you to come to Canada quite quickly. So if you're an IT professional, good news for you on that front. If you're generally a non-IT professional, you've got to look at the express entry system. And again, the numbers are going to be significant, and we see people coming to Canada from the express entry. Your options look pretty bright next year. But again, if you don't have the ideal profile to come to Canada, high education, age 30, impeccable English skills, good work experience, then you're going to need to look to an employer, right, to give you that extra number of points that's going to be very significant for you to receive what we call an invitation to apply for permanent residence.
And we do provide employment search assistance to all our clients as well.
Right. We help all our clients coming to work with us will receive assistance on the search consulting side. We have an independent, standalone employment consulting enterprise called Global Recruiters of Montreal, and we're quite knowledgeable about the various labor markets in Canada, and of course that's the challenge, is that we're such a large country with so many different labor markets.
Yeah.
What's going on in, let's say, one area of the country could be for a particular occupation is quite different, of course, given how large we are.
Exactly.
The other thing is, if you're an American and you want to come to work temporarily, you currently have options until under NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. Of course, there were discussions, and Donald Trump did indicate in his election platform that he was looking to significantly modify NAFTA. But currently, NAFTA offers a number of professionals what we call Appendix 1603D applicants. And if you go to our website, you'll see today's discussion and our article on Dear America, Keep Calm. There's a lot of occupations where you can come and work in Canada and get a work permit on the strength of an offer of employment from a Canadian employer. The other major category is the international students. Let's
Okay.
tell people what's going on there.
So there's going to be some developments because the government is going to make it easier for international students to stay in Canada and become permanent residents. So we're expecting some changes to give them actually more points
Okay.
Under the Express Entry system. Also, there's been discussion with regards to not requiring an LMIA.
Right.
So there are options. So if you're looking to come to if you're looking to get another degree, we have great universities, so you could always come here to study and then look into your options after you receive your degree.
The other category that's interesting, I think, that people should know about, I mean, in terms of being able to predict an outcome that's fairly reliable. If you're a business immigrant, if you're an individual with a high net worth, whether you're an owner-operator or you're a high-level managerial business person, you know, there are a number of business programs in Canada which take out a lot of the what we call the express entry is of course there's a lot of uncertainty. If you don't have the right points,
Right.
you're waiting for an invitation, and so you know it's more uncertain. But if you're a business immigrant, your options are a little more defined. You've got Quebec, which has an excellent business program, which is the only program in the country for passive investments. You need a certain profile for that. Of course, it's for higher net worth individuals. But typically, if you're a business person with a net worth of 500,000 Canadian dollars, and you've got business experience either as a manager or an owner-operator of a business, there are excellent options for you to come to Canada. Other than that, the next major category would be provincial. Let's talk about provincial immigration a bit.
So, I mean, Canada is divided up into provinces. So each province also has their own nomination programs. So, I mean, that's another option for you. So should you qualify under one of those programs, I mean, say you're in the Express Entry pool, you could be nominated by a province and receive provincial nomination.
Right, and those programs change quite frequently.
So you need to stay up to date. So, I mean, obviously we stay up to date for our clients on their behalf, but I mean, obviously it's very important to stay up to date with, you know, the most recent regulations.
And that would cover the economic class options for individuals who want to come to Canada on a permanent basis or on a temporary basis. Then, of course, if you're in a position to have a family member, a close family member, a partner, spouse, that is an option for sponsorship.
Yes.
So what's going on in that field that we are looking to?
So next year, Canada will be accepting 10,000 parent or grandparent sponsorship cases. So, I mean, obviously you have to look into, you know, seeing if you qualify to sponsor. So if you're a Canadian citizen or you are a Canadian permanent resident, you can look into your options to sponsor your parent or grandparent.
And a partner and spouse.
And a partner and a spouse as well. And
So that would be family class, and then in terms of we talked about the students. So those are the broad range of options that an individual in the States. But I guess one of the more important caveats we like to tell everyone is you want to visit Canada first.
yes, I mean, Canada's very different. It's a very big country. There's different provinces. Every province is different. I mean, with regards to different aspects, even from climate to just, I mean, it's very important to know, you know, where you're going to be moving to. So if you could come to Canada and just, see see how you like it as well.
And check out the labor market. So what we often try to have people do is time your visit to attend job fairs, work with recruiters, and check out the various employment options that could be available to you within the different sub-labor markets. So it's a question of contacting employers, getting your digital credentials in line, and taking the effort to really learning where you could situate yourself from a work perspective. And of course the living conditions. So what you don't want to do is just pack up and move to Canada. That is obviously not advisable. If you're going to come from the States, example, you're going to come and plan to live there permanently in Canada, that's not a good move. You really want to come on a short-term visit, indicate as an American citizen, you know, you're certainly allowed to come in and visit for up to 6 months.
Yes.
If everything goes well, you would be given an open invitation to come and explore. But what you don't want to be doing is giving an indication that you're permanently going to stay in Canada. That would raise a lot of concern from our border officials. So those are the broad options that you have if you're coming to from America, or if you're an international candidate. Other than that, I think
we've covered it. I mean, on our website, immigration.ca, you can find all the information that we discussed today. And obviously, if you want to discuss your eligibility, you please fill out our online assessment so you can assess your eligibility, and we'll get back to you.
Great. So that covers our topic for today. We look forward to perhaps communicating with some of you in the near future. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.